So check out that link in the chat. Yeah, I've followed your journey for quite a while. Of course, I think you're most known for going from 0 to 2000 rating in under 2 years. That's so impressive.
Well, thank you.
Some of us are still trying to reach the 2000 mark.
Well, I think you, Solveig, are a lot stronger than your rating might suggest. I think actually our FIDE, or your FIDE and my USCF are actually like around the same level, so.
Yeah, I think, well, I do think you have kind of, by the way, can people let us know if the audio is okay?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask my chat that. Because mine is peeking out and yours is very quiet, I think.
Yeah, so let me know if the audio balance is okay. But yeah, I think I might be a little bit underrated, maybe online, because I don't play enough online. But you play a lot online. Oh my God, I was stalking your profile, but it was kind of, I think it was like half a year ago or something. Earlier, okay, my chat is saying Solveig is quiet, but Kamryn is blasting.
I'm too
Okay,
loud.
I will turn you down a bit here.
Yeah, this is always the question at the beginning, is trying to figure these things out.
Yeah. Okay, I turned it down with like 8.5 decibel, so let me know if it's better. Can you say something, Kamryn?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And I will try to just talk a little bit louder. I'm not able to turn up my audio anymore. Rookie says I should not talk to my guest that way. I will turn it down. No, maybe that's a bit rude. But yeah, I was stalking your Chess.com profile. And I think I saw something insane. I don't remember exactly, but I think you played like, oh yeah, right. You played an insane amount of games on chess.com. How many games have you played? Are you able to check that, or maybe I can pull that up so we don't screw up your?
Oh, yeah, it might mess with that. I remember at the end of last year, like for the entire year, it told me I had played like 8,000 games or something. So I don't know what my lifetime is.
It's Small Town Goose, right?
Yes.
Let's see. You have an insane amount of games.
A lot of it is probably bullet, which those add up quickly.
Oh wow! I turned on your stream accidentally. uh, let's see. How many games have you played? You have played 21,541 games on chess.com.
Oh my goodness.
And let's compare. How many have I played? This is embarrassing. Let's see. I have played 595.
Well, I remember when we were going to play a match and I was trying to prepare for you. I just had like nothing to go on because you didn't play on that account very much, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But for my chat, if you don't know, on the call right now, you can check out her stream by typing exclam guest in the chat, I believe. I hope, please, God, let that work. I set it up very late last night. Yeah, okay, it works. This is RookieRedhead, Solveig, and she also created a course. As you guys know, that my course came out yesterday. Your course has been out for a month now, or has it been longer?
I am totally useless with remembering any kind of information.
I could have looked this up.
Except opening lines. I'm very good at remembering those.
Yeah.
But I think my course launched June 1st,
Okay,
maybe.
so it's been almost 2 months now. That's crazy.
Oh, don't say that. The summer is almost over. I just realized.
I know. Oh my goodness. This month especially I feel like has just been insanely fast.
Yeah,
But
it has. But yeah, it has been out for a while, so it's breaking 1,000. So it's geared towards those new players and how you can break that 1,000 rating mark. And King is letting me know that my course was launched May 24th. So it's nice to know that my chat remembers these things when I don't. So thank you.
Even better. So it almost on the dot has been 2 months. Wow, that's super
Yeah,
exciting. How has this
and
been?
yours.
We'll talk about it a
Oh.
little bit more, but how do you feel the reception has been of your course so far?
Yeah, it's been awesome, and I was actually very nervous about the reception because I'm not a title player. So it's like, why are you creating a chessable course? I was a bit scared about that, but I haven't knock on wood, but I haven't received a single negative comment. It's just been overwhelmingly positive and great reviews so far, and those who have purchased the course are very happy about it. So nothing could be better than that.
That's
I put in
great.
a lot of work in it, a year of work, and I know you put in similar as well for yours. So it's just I don't know. Of course, you know how insanely huge amount of work that goes into it creating a chessable course,
Yeah.
but I had never reflected on that before I made one myself. It's just a huge amount of
Exactly.
work.
Yeah, the hours that go in. And I was just looking at again, we will talk about this more in depth later, but I was looking at the stats on your course and just kind of comparing ours back and forth. And your word count is like, it's like longer than some novels that I've written. Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. It's over 50,000 words, and your video, like, there's a ton of video hours as well. So I definitely like feel that, and I mean I have been working on it a similar amount of time, but I really feel like you have definitely spent the hours on this course, which means that I assume the people who bought it can really tell that it's, a labor of love, as you said, and
Yeah.
your experience as an educator, I'm sure, has helped out with that and maybe compensated for that idea of like not being a title player.
Yeah, I think so. And regarding the word count, I just have this problem. I'm not able to convey stuff in a short and efficient way. I kind of need to do it in 3 paragraphs. So I have an issue with that. But I guess when you're writing, that is a positive thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to purchase your course and check it out because of course it's on sale now. So you have that
Yes.
launch sale. So I
Yeah.
think it's good to how do you say? It's good to. Oh, I can't talk English today. Can I just talk Norwegian? Is that fine?
You could, but I won't understand a word.
uh,
We could do a
Solveig Hambly
Duolingo
saying that
stream.
she's a blabbermouth. Yeah, I'm a kind of a blabbermouth, and I can't talk English apparently. But yeah, I'm super excited about it. And you have this one chapter that's called "Never Resign," I think, or "Never Give Up,"
Never
or
give up. Yeah.
yes. And I thought it would be really cool to have you talk a little bit about it on our stream because there's several of my Chessable students who are talking a lot about raising that floor level that you are touching upon in your course to help you get over that plateau and increase your rating because if you want to raise your rating you need to win more games. It's pretty straightforward. So if that floor is very low compared to your ceiling, or if you keep resigning games where you maybe should not resign, I think I'm very guilty of that. I even did it in our game. I don't know if you remember, but I
Vaguely,
resigned a bit
yeah.
too early because I got a bit negative.
Yeah. I
So
think there's definitely a huge psychological side, which I'd be happy to talk about as well.
yeah, maybe we could just jump into it. I'm super excited to talk about this. I think this is something not only the viewers would benefit from hearing about, but I would benefit from it as well.
Yeah,
I
definitely. We
resign too
can
often.
we can definitely jump in. And guys, I do see some questions in the chat. We're gonna do kind of a mini interview after I'm done with this lesson. So Chris, live, your question, I will definitely get back to it and we'll talk about that, okay? Um, so okay, we're talking about never giving up. This is within the course itself. This is in the chapter that is called Rules for Attacking. And there are 5 chapters with 10 rules each. There's rules for oh goodness, can I remember them? Rules for developing, rules for active pieces, rules for trading pieces, rules for attacking, and rules for the end game. So just as a little bump to my course, it really gives you this well-rounded view as you're looking at the different scenarios you might face in the game. But as we're talking about never giving up, I typically see this in players who are, you see resigning fairly early at the grandmaster level. And I think that the reason that psychologically like lower rated players tend to resign, in my opinion, too early is that it comes back to chess as a game as a whole, meaning that there's a lot of like etiquette that goes into playing chess. And when you're first starting out, that can be very overwhelming. And so when you're watching these grandmasters play and you see that, oh, they resign in this position where there's still a ton of pieces on the board, you might not even understand why they resigned. But you get this idea in your head that, oh, it's polite or it's respectful to resign early, and you might even hear the commentators like talking this way, like, oh, it's disrespectful to keep playing on in this type of position. For the majority of us, that is not the case at all. Like, my thought is always, as long as there's pieces on the board, there are chances. There may be bigger or smaller chances, but there are always chances to look for stalemates or just like to trick your opponent, which is kind of the positions we're going to be looking at. And generally, my idea is that you should play on until there's like a point of no return, where it is very clear that your opponent knows how to win the game. And that might be all the way up until checkmate for players at some level, because your opponent might not know how to checkmate with a queen. And so you can play it all, especially online. You can play it all the way to the end. Like you're not going to lose anything from forcing your opponent to checkmate you with a queen or to checkmate you with a rook. It's helping them practice their technique, and it's helping you, figure out the best ways to escape and make it as difficult as possible for your opponent. And not necessarily resigning after you've been down like an exchange or a piece. Go ahead.
Do you think there's a factor at all that sometimes it can be painful to play those types of positions, especially if you have viewers, if you're playing on stream, or if you're playing in a tournament, or even if you're just having a bad day or whatever? Maybe you don't have the fortitude to fight on in that dead loss position because it just feels painful, because that's certainly the case for me.
Yeah,
Do you have
definitely.
thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it too. And I think another thing is like, it may feel like you're sort of wasting time because you understand that the position is lost. And I think the way to rectify that is a mindset, oh my goodness, a mindset shift. Not necessarily to change your mindset to, oh, I'm always going to be trying to win this game. Oh, what was that notification? Oh,
I didn't hear anything.
okay, good. It was really loud on my end. JSCN, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. 1 year, that's crazy.
Wait, what? I spaced out.
Sorry, I was reading his message. He resigns when he's not 100% sure if I switch places with my opponent. Anyway, okay, we will get to that, JSCN. Thank you so much for the sub. But I think the mindset shift that we need to more so go towards, like I said, is not necessarily I'm going to try and win this game, but I'm going to make it as difficult as possible for my opponent and be like a tricky little player. To win the game. And just to try and have more of that fighting spirit, because you can really learn a lot from playing out, quote unquote lost positions and trying to find the best ways to, again, make it hard for your opponent to win and really put their skills to the test. And then when you have a winning position, if you've been playing out a lot of lost positions, it's going to feel like you're taking off the weights, and it'll be a lot easier. It'll just feel so much easier to have actually a winning position for once and be able to play that out.
Do you ever feel negatively when you're playing in lost positions, or do you generally manage to stay positive and think I'm going to be a tricky little player?
No, there's definitely those negative feelings. And I think especially when playing over the board, I know you've done quite a bit of over the board play, especially you had like a year where you were going extremely intensely over the board, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's hard when it's like a long game. You spent a lot of time and you maybe make one
Mm.
mistake and suddenly you understand that you are just completely out of the game. That can be very demoralizing, and
Yeah.
it's it can be hard to overcome this. But I think at the very least when like when it is like a single blunder, when that happens, there are certainly situations where resigning may be the right decision. Like for example, you like lose your queen and there are like no other pieces on the board. Um,
Mm.
that makes sense to resign in that.
Except the king.
Yes.
Oh, I'm joking. But actually, regarding losing the queen, I've been working a little bit with the Sjakksnakk podcast,
Oh
and
yeah.
Odin is one of the hosts in that podcast, and he's a candidate master. He played on the Norwegian chess school with Magnus when he was younger,
Oh
and
awesome.
he's said the same thing as you. Basically, never give up. And he told me about a game he played when he was younger, like a teenager or something. He lost his queen on move 6, and he ended up winning on time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that was over the board. So it's just like,
Yeah, there are some positions in here that I will show you from my real games where I am down a queen and I play
mm,
on, and often your opponent will get a little bit lazy because they think that
yeah,
you're obviously lost. But the idea is that you want to bring your other pieces as close as possible to your opponent's king and, use the rest of your army to overpower
yeah.
them and be more aggressive. Um,
Oh, it's very interesting. I have a chapter as well in my course about swindling. And
yes.
there are a lot of people that have zero respect for a player that wins a game by a cheap swindle.
Mm,
Because the other one played a beautiful game, they deserve the win, blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of like, if you're playing out a lost position for a long time, it's painful. If you manage to do a cheap swindle, uh, good on you for having the strength to play that lost position and trying to be resourceful. Like, I don't find that negative at all. I think it's pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much of this like this talk of like respect your opponent, and this it's kind
Mm.
of this elitism that comes as you play a little bit more chess. And
Yeah.
like my thought is like, especially at these lower levels that you and I even are playing at, it's like you
Mm.
you still have to make your opponent prove it. I had a game just about a month ago now where my
Mm.
opponent played on like fairly long into a very clearly lost position. Like I must have been up a piece or something like that in an end game. And I was like very clearly about to like promote a queen or something, and he finally resigned. And he actually apologized afterwards. He's like, I'm sorry if you thought it was disrespectful for me to like play it out. And I was like, do not apologize. Like that's absolutely what you should do. You need to put
Mm.
your opponent's skills to the test. And I don't think there's any disrespect at all involved in like, especially like your course is for under 1,000. Like
Mm.
play it out until checkmate. There's no reason
Yeah.
not to. It's good practice for both players.
Yeah.
Um, and of course
Definitely.
online there's the side of like if your opponent starts promoting like 7 queens, like okay, like you
But
can.
then the chance of stalemate gets pretty high, though.
Exactly. I would never fault anyone for playing it all the way out to the end. Like chess is the like you will not see a football game where suddenly one of the teams is like, "Nope, I give up. I'm going to walk away. I resign." Like there's no
Yeah.
other sport where this is a thing. And so I again, just as a game,
Do you
there's
think
no
it
reason not to.
can be anything regarding like if my opponent gets annoyed that I make them prove it and play it out? They could maybe feel like I'm insulting their intelligence in a way. Like, do you really don't think I know how to checkmate with a rook and a king? And they get annoyed because of that. But for me, it's like, especially when you're playing over the board, okay, you have paid to play the game. So you
True.
should be able to play out the game if you want to. And but I think maybe there's like limits to this as well. Maybe if you're like playing a classical game and the opponent has tons of time on the clock and they have a queen and a king against you, and they have 1800 rating.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think there's
there's some limits, but
there are some levels where it starts to cut off. Like again, if you're at a level where it's very clear, like your opponent starts doing the like knights move away thing with their queen, and it's like so clear that they know how to finish it off, especially
yeah,
in like a classical game. May not be necessarily worth it to make them play it all the way out, but I again would never fault anyone for doing that. I think kids do this a lot. They like kids that I've played, they will force you to play it out until checkmate. And I'm always
yeah,
like, well, you know what? It's good practice for both of us. So
yeah.
I don't think if there is any semblance of a love, like some kind of a disrespect vibe, I think it should go away at the very least.
Yeah, I think what you said about people kind of adopting this. It's a respect thing because they're looking at the grandmasters resigning when they're like a piece down.
Yeah.
I think it's very good that you address this because it's just not relevant to the hobby players at our level because we are not grandmasters and we
Yes.
make tons of blunders, both of us. Recently, I had a rapid game where I went into the most cheesy night fork and I was just like, oh, I can't handle this. It's so embarrassing. I'm going to resign. But then I thought, no, I'm not resigning. And then my opponent went into the same cheesy fork like the move after. So
Exactly.
it
That
was
happens
very
all the
funny.
time. I know. And you just kind of have to laugh. It's so funny that when yeah, it's
Yeah.
like you're both at the same level. You both have the opportunity to make the same kinds of mistakes, and it's the last mistake that's going to lose the game, not the first one. So,
So this game you're looking at right now, I think I have solved this one by stalling with a whole lot of talking. But is this from one of your games or what is it?
yeah,
What are we
so
looking at here?
all of these that we'll look at today are from I think they're all from my online game. Some of them are Rapid, I think some of them are Blitz. But yeah, basically just to illustrate this idea of like never give up in positions, for example, like this one, where if we look at the material account, okay, I have a rook for a rook, and I'm down in exchange, I have a bishop for a rook, and I'm playing actually somebody that I know in real life, I believe, in this game, and he has beat me in a classical game, and but we're playing blitz, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's make him prove it. And in this position with black to move, Solveig, you said you solved it. What is our move here?
Well, I think we can solve this by doing the check capture threat method.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are you addressing this at all in your course or is it a method that you're using?
Yeah, so typically I think I have a chapter called Look for Checks because especially like say the audience that this course is aimed at, 99% of the time if you find a check in like a puzzle, it's going to be the right answer. It like puzzles start with checks. These are all from real games, but we'll be looking at them in terms of like as a puzzle. And so yeah, starting with the checks and then if none of the checks work, moving on to captures and threats. But you must address this specifically in your course?
Yeah, we have in the tactics chapter, we do go through the CCT method, the check capture threat method. So the checks are okay, but it's kind of like starting to look for the forcing moves and then practicing your visualization. And of course, threats is the most difficult one. It gets
Yeah.
easier the more patterns you learn, though. But does anyone in chat want to suggest a solution for this one? If not, I'm going to just blabber it out.
Yeah, we can definitely solicit our chats. So go ahead and type in the chat if you can find the solution to this one, and we'll have a little bit of a race.
Is it Rookie is writing, it's just a free rook, no?
Yes.
Well, it's either a free rook or a checkmate.
Yes. So what's our starting move, Rookie, if you're so certain?
Yeah.
Rookie's hanging out in your chat.
You need to write chess notation, not sentences. Rook c1, rook e1, rook takes e7.
Yes, very good. So we give the check. This is the only check that works in the position. Oh goodness, it's gonna be so delayed. My mouse is just lagging all over the place. This is the other check, but of course that just loses the rook.
Yeah.
So the king is forced to move off of that back rank, and then because our darksword bishop is covering this square, we're able to give this check and spot the
And
rook on
here
the other
you
side.
get the skewer.
Yes, exactly. So the king moves, and I won the rook and was able to be now up a piece rather than down in exchange. And
Did
you
he
can
resign?
see he didn't. He played it out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think he did resign shortly after. I think he gave me a few checks, and I had to run away. So my king went on a nice little jog. But yeah, so that's just our first example.
You're lagging a little bit, by the way. Let's hope
Oh,
it gets better. I hope
is
it's not your internet.
yeah, I hope not either. Oh goodness, how can I make that not do that?
It's kind of like your camera is lagging as well.
Oh really?
Mm.
Maybe if I
But maybe
no.
it gets better. Oh yeah, do you think it's stockfish?
Yeah, maybe it is. Can I turn off stock? How do I turn it off?
I think if you go to the settings and you can wait. Is it
Wait.
not off? Maybe
There's usually they changed their
interface.
is it an interface?
Does anyone know how you turn off stockfish?
They changed their UI, so there's normally a little like right up to the
Yeah.
right of the board. There's a little like turn it off thing, and I don't see it, so I don't know why this is. Oh, maybe it's this. Oh, I found it. Okay, turn this all off.
Oh, great.
Beautiful. Okay, hopefully that might help in a bit if my browser cooperates.
Yeah, let's just see if it gets better. It's
Okay.
fine.
We will
So
move
the next
on.
one?
Yeah, so this one is okay, yeah, this is another I forget if this was a rapid or a blitz game, but it is white to move. And again, with puzzles, which these are, like obviously in a game, your opponent's not aware that they are in a puzzle currently, but the way we will be looking at it is as a puzzle. Oh, Rookie's saying put
Yeah.
stockfish at minimum. Let me try that too.
No, but you're not lagging anymore now.
Okay, great.
I think I have the solution to this one. What I want to say is, like, when you are doing these evaluations, it's very nice to look at the material count first,
Yes.
and then see if there are any checks, captures, or threats available. But you should also see if you can see any active pins on the board.
Yes,
Or
definitely.
any pin pieces. That helps a lot.
Looking at all the parts of the position. So just to go through, we have a rook for a rook, we have a queen for a queen, we have a knight for, well, this knight has just captured, I think, a bishop on this square, so we're currently down a piece. But say a knight for a knight, we're down a bishop, and then we have a rook for a rook. In all these cases, the pawns don't really matter. In a real game, strategically, pawns matter a little bit more, but when you're looking for a tactic, typically you're not just looking to like win a pawn or something. And then we can look for our checks in this position.
I have a question for you, Kamryn, because you said something a bit fun, that your opponent doesn't realize they're currently in a puzzle.
Yeah.
But this can also sometimes be hard. Let's say you're in time trouble, you're playing a game, and maybe you're not realizing that you have a tactical chance or that you are in a puzzle. So I don't know, do you have any tips for that? Like understanding that this is a tactical position. Is it only intuition and experience, or is there some? Do you have any?
I think a lot of it does come from experience, and the more patterns that you learn and the more times you solve puzzles where again, I keep coming back to checks, where the solution is a check, you're just going to have that tendency to always be looking for your checks and always looking for the parts of the position that sort of add up to some kind of a tactic. So as I'm playing this game, of course, I have lifted my rook to pin this pawn to the king. And so I already kind of have an idea of what I want to do. I've moved my pieces into place and like sort of set this up. But a lot of times they'll come out of nowhere. And so it's important to like always be alert. Like in this position too, okay, the knight is attacking the queen. I know we haven't talked about the solution yet, but the knight is attacking the queen. The knight has just captured a piece, and often like the obvious move is not going to be the best move. So obviously like moving your queen or recapturing a piece that has just captured, like we're actually down 2 pawns in this position. Like even if we were to capture back here, which is not the right move, we're still down 2 pawns in this position. So just mindlessly trading off pieces and making the obvious move isn't always going to cut it. And we'll see that theme as we continue on. So it's important to like stop as much. I know in time trouble it's hard, but to stop on every move and think, okay, should I make the obvious move or is there something better that I can find?
I think a lot of beginners and also intermediate players, they have this disease where they feel like they have to recapture. So there's this in-between moves. They can sometimes be a bit hard to find. So I like to do a thing out of it. Like if my opponent captures something in my camp, I like to look, is there something else I can do? I don't have to recapture. And in this position, we do in fact have mate in 1 on the board. And my chat has solved it. Chris Live is writing, knight f6 check feels smart. Pawn can't take since rook on g3. Actually, wait, that's just mate. So
very nice.
Nice solve.
So yeah, giving the knight check because the pawn is pinned. So if the pawn moves, of course, the king would be captured. And the knight very nicely also covers the king's 1 escape square. So the king is boxed in by its own strong pieces here, and they're not being very helpful when we have this knight and the pin all kind of working together.
Yeah, that is a sad rook on h8. I wonder what happened here. You apparently have disturbed the castling or something like that.
Yeah, I forget I wish I had copied the whole PGN for these games, but I was just pulling from like screenshots that I had, so I couldn't find this actual game.
Did this originate from the London?
It must have, because that's all I've been playing. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you often get that? Do you often get that open F file when you're playing the London?
Not super often. I've been playing it a lot more aggressively recently, and it's been really fun because yeah, once you're able to kind of like just shove this F pawn out of the way, you get this rook lift, and often if your opponent's not prepared for that, you know, this can be just totally devastating. Whether you put it on the G file or the H file, I mean, it just has these really fun tactics that come out of it. And yeah, I cannot remember how this rook got over here. I don't know if they. I know I had a game recently where they misclicked castling, and so had to kind of run their or they might have had issues on the H file. I can't remember, but yeah, that is a very sad rook. And funnily enough, back in this position, where the position started, if we do just capture the knight, they still have this problem they have to deal with. Like this doesn't go away. So it's black to move now, and their only move, I believe, if I remember correctly, or there's 2, I believe. They can move the king out of the pin, or they can move the rook and essentially give up the exchange to have a semblance of equal material. And then I guess the idea is to just like push the pawns over here. Which, and then the other option, I believe, if they go here, I think you check like, this is what the engine wants. You check like this, they take, you check like this, they take, and it's equal material. Which I don't think I would ever, I don't think either side would ever play this in a game. This is like, especially at this level, it's like, this is just an insane material imbalance, but it's funny the lines that the engine comes up with.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would be a bit worried about those pawns, even though I were a queen against 2 rooks. I think this is often a thing also that the beginners struggle a bit with evaluating, because often you don't realize that 2 rooks are 10 points and a queen is 9 or 8.
Yeah.
So 2 rooks, they should be able to match the queen, but so often it can actually be good, depending on the position, to make that sort of trade.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's hard psychologically, because you always hear, oh, the queen's obviously the most powerful piece on the board, and you have this hard time giving up your queen. But if you can get 2 rooks out of it, and your rooks are coordinated enough, those can be pretty insane. But here we have a position where we're down a queen. It's white to move, and our opponent is threatening checkmate on the next move, so that means we have to move quickly. But you'll notice in a lot of these positions that the way that you, when you're down material, you can't afford the time to just kind of shuffle your pieces around on your half of the board. You need to really get aggressive and move your pieces closer to your opponent's king and coordinate them in a way that when the opportunity arises, you have the resources to pounce. Because you'll see in this position, if all of my pieces, which I have 2 minor pieces and a rook, if they're all over here, that doesn't really help me so much in trying to win the game. It might prevent checkmate for a while, but eventually the opponent's going to be able to trade things down. So in this position, of course, we're down a queen. We have bishop and bishop.
Checkmate and 2 here, right?
Yeah. Just looking at the material count. Rook, and then the knight for the queen. But what is our starting move here, if your chat knows or if you do?
Chris Live has already answered. A rook f7 check forces king h8, then bishop f6 checkmate. And, Jordi also saw it, so well done.
Nice job, guys. So yeah, this is the only check in the position, I believe. Yeah. And because this knight is importantly covering the g8 square, these squares are covered.
So Jordi just wrote king j8 is also possible, but that is covered by the knight Torino.
Yeah, which is extremely important here. And also important is that the king can't take this knight because it's covered by the bishop. So you have to consider all the places the king could possibly go, but in this case, of course, it just has to go to the back rank. And then because we have a dark squared bishop, bammo, we've got checkmate on the board. And this queen and the rook, who cares if there's a checkmate in one? We're just faster to pounce.
Kayudo wrote, I would just have taken the rook. Oops, LOL. Yeah, I guess the rook was hanging, but then... I don't know. But when you have checkmate in 2, you will have to prioritize that, right?
Right, exactly. And important to note, if we take the rook, it's better it's better than it was, but we're still down a queen at the end of the day, and even against the minor pieces and the rook, it's probably going to be fairly simple for black to convert this. Again, there's always chances, but when you have a checkmate, that's why we always look for checks, because the sooner you can end the game when you're in these kind of positions, the better, because you don't want to give your opponent more chances to try and win.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the check capture threat method is very good to use, and not only use it for your own moves, but use it for your opponent as well.
Yes.
And the checks are the easiest ones, and one of the distinctions also for those who are just starting out is that the point is not to play random checks, because you have good checks and you also have bad checks.
Yes, very true.
So some checks can lose you the game. So it's about thinking about these forcing moves, because playing checks, it's often good because it makes it very easy for you to visualize what is the opponent going to respond, because they have to move out of the check, block it, or capture the piece that is checking. So it makes it easy for you to think about the response and what you can do next.
Yeah, it kind of limits the possible options they can play.
And that was an easier way of saying it.
No, I appreciate your explanation too, because I think another thing is kind of as you were saying, a tendency I see in the at maybe beginner intermediate levels is you hear, we've said in this stream so far, always look for your checks, no matter what move has just been made, look for your checks. And one pattern that I see blundered a lot is, especially near the beginning of the game, you might move a piece and it's suddenly attacked by a pawn, but you see that you have a check with your bishop, and so you're well, always look for checks. How could this go wrong? You give a check with your bishop, and suddenly they block with another pawn, and so you've got a knight hanging by a pawn, and you've got a bishop hanging by a pawn, and you can't really deal with either of them in just one move. So you always have to ask yourself, how is my opponent going to respond? And that think of all the options, not just moving the king and not just blocking with the queen or something silly that they would actually never do.
Yeah, visualization is key, and I think to practice visualization, I think it's good to do tactics and do tactics the right way and not the lazy way where you just move something and see if it was right, but try to actually visualize the full line and all the responses for the opponent. So I've been doing a lot of exercises from the Arthur Yusupov series, Build Up Your Chess, and there you get guidelines to how you should solve the tactics, and you actually have to write down your moves and the opponent's response and commit to it before you play it. And if you got one of the moves wrong for either you or for your opponent, you failed the tactic. So,
yeah, which is a really good
so that is very
practice
good training.
because, again, in a game, like it very much mirrors the reality of a game. If you get one of the moves wrong and your opponent capitalizes on it, well, then you're probably not going to see your idea played out, or you're not going to win. So yeah, I do like that.
Do you do a lot of tactics, Kamryn, or do you mostly play?
I've been trying to do more tactics. I think something that I've been seeing that I struggle with is calculation, and along with that, like visualizing things correctly. And so I typically, before I play online, I try and do some like 3-minute puzzle rush, which is just kind of snappy and getting warmed up. Exactly. And then later, after I've played a game, if I'm doing like my full study routine, I like to do the harder puzzles and try and make it as much like a real game scenario as possible. So if I'm really trying to do it right, like setting it up on a board, like you said, trying those different tactics of like writing the moves down and things like that, not just moving mindlessly. I've been trying to be more disciplined about that. In the last few weeks, I've been really busy, so I haven't really been doing much chess at all.
Yeah. I haven't been playing. I haven't been playing a lot this month, but I've been doing puzzles every day, actually, on chess.com.
Awesome.
And doing those on the phone is actually quite addictive because they have made it into this meeting game where you get points and you level up, and I can just feel my dopamine flushing. So
exactly.
And I actually noticed that my tactics are stronger just because I'm getting those reps in every day. So that's very motivating. I've been finding some very cool combinations in the games I have played. I found, I was so sad. It was, I think it was a couple of days ago, I played a rapid game, and I actually had an Anastasia's mate on the board.
Oh, really?
With the queen sacrifice for the first time in my life. And my opponent saw it. I was so depressed.
Oh, no.
Like, if it did not defend that and I got that on the board for the first time.
Oh, my goodness.
That GIF would be posted on Twitter.
I was going to say that the Twitter likes would be insane on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, for funny. Well, yeah, good thing for your opponent they saw it, but unfortunate for you.
Unfortunately, opponents do tactics as well. Would be nice if only I did them.
I have one more. I just wanted to shout out Oscar in the chat. Also got the puzzle. I didn't see the answer earlier, so well done, Oscar. We'll do. Yeah, this is. I think this is the last one we can do. Oh, and this is flip the wrong way. Okay, so this one, just to give a little bit of background, this is one that is included in the first video I posted on YouTube, which is my journey from 0 to 2000 in 2 years, or whatever it's called, how I accidentally. And I could not find this game for the life of me. I think it's when I was like maybe like 1900 on chess.com, before I had reached 2000. And I just remember this one so vividly because I was playing, I think I was on a losing streak. I was playing a player who was like significantly higher rated than me, and this is a rapid game. And again, this idea, as you can see, of like bringing all of your pieces towards your opponent's king, clearly my opponent's trying to have the same idea, like aiming all of their pieces, but they're just a little bit further away, and they're not quite as well coordinated as mine are at the moment. This, again, just to look at material count, we have a knight for a knight, we have a queen for a queen, we have a rook for a rook for a rook, and our opponent is up a bishop. And so in this position with black to move, Who can find
And
it?
it's also pretty nice what you're saying, like getting your pieces around the opponent's king, and you can see the opponent is pointing towards our king as well. But we have, or not we, you have your knight closer, and having the knight close by that, because that's a very tactical piece that can set up a lot of checkmate patterns. So if you can have a
Yeah,
knight and the queen close by, that is a power couple.
exactly.
So I solved it, but I also think I saw it before in your video, and I think the chat has solved it as well. Jordy M and Rookie is
I have someone
suggesting
in.
to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, they're suggesting a rook sacrifice.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. The ancient
Mm.
knight in my chat also got it, so well done. So I
Rook
assume,
takes h2 check, king takes h2, and queen h4 checkmate.
yeah, beautiful. So you give up even more material, but it's a check, and it's forcing the king out into the open. And again, the knight does a great job of covering escape squares here.
Mm.
You bring your queen over, and importantly, you don't capture this pawn. This might be a tendency, is, oh, you get to win material, but it's not, a pawn isn't really material when you're down a piece. And you know, you're also about to be just blown off the board. You have to stop just going after pawns when you're totally losing. But of course, this square is covered. You bring your queen up to cover both of these squares and the entire file here, and it's mate.
I had to do an extra take there when you said important not to catch the pawn, but of course then you get to escape to the G file, I think, and then it just gets messy. Do you lose the force mate? Maybe?
Yeah, you probably lose. Oh, I turned the analysis off, but you go here, and then you don't really have another check that works because
this just gets messy.
Yeah.
So it's important. It's very important. I mentioned this in my course actually, that when you have a winning tactic, it's very easy to get excited. And I have found that when I get excited when I play chess, that is when I need to stop and think. And then
Yes, sit on your hands.
That is kind of that is an alarm bell that is going off, because when I get excited, I make most insane blunders. You have no idea. I had this over the board game where I was completely winning. I thought about it when I played. This is a beautiful game. I can't wait to post this. This is going to be in the newspapers for sure. And it was so perfectly played. And then I got overly excited to put a sick mate combination, but I actually just lost a rook, a passed pawn, and a bishop because of one move. And I totally lost the game.
Listen, I did the exact same thing when I was in Las Vegas like 2 months ago, and I had commentators, and I think I did 2 rook sacrifices that didn't work through the course of the tournament. And they were like, Kamryn, you gotta stop sacrificing your rooks. Like, it's not working for you. Oh my goodness.
It was actually a rook sacrifice, the one I was talking about as well. I had practiced tactics, and it was like this magnet sacrifice, or so I thought. So that is also easy when you think you see a pattern that you have practiced a lot, but then it doesn't actually work. So I have figured out, when I get excited when I play chess, then my mind is agitated. And when your mind is agitated, you won't be able to think logically. So
yeah, you kind of get tunnel vision on the way it could work, but you don't think about the ways that it might not work, and your opponent's actual resources that they will probably find if it's, you know, the only move to survive. So
I actually had a nightmare about that blunder.
Oh no. It's just the worst, isn't it? I can't stand it.
Yeah. But I can. But the funny thing is, I have never forgotten that blunder. I have never forgotten what I did wrong, and I learned from that, because when I make those blunders online, it's just like, yeah, I get pissed off for like 10 minutes, but then it's forgotten. But when you do it over the board,
it just
game,
hurts so much more. Yeah. It definitely teaches you lessons that you will never make that kind of mistake again, I'm sure. Hopefully.
Yeah, right. And we have some comments in the chat as well. Chris Live had a game where he sacrificed the bishop early because he or she, I guess, thought it led to a forced mate, and I couldn't have been more wrong. But luckily, my opponent made a mistake as well. to even everything out. And that was just what we were talking about. Just don't give up, even though you blunder atrociously.
Yeah, exactly. There's,
Thank you
again,
for
to reiterate, there's always chances.
thank you for subscribing, Ulan. You've been subscribed for 13 months, over a year. That's amazing.
Wow.
But yeah, these tactics were very cute, Kamryn.
Yeah, I hope they
And
gave some inspiration to, if you see these kind of swindles, I feel like it's better and more helpful to like understand how they come about by getting your pieces closer to your opponent's king and like not just sitting back and waiting for your inevitable demise.
yeah,
Yeah.
are you familiar with the Lion Chess Coach? He's
Yeah,
pretty active
definitely.
in the chess community on Twitter. He had a lesson with me regarding fighting like a lion, I think it was, in chess. And it's
Oh,
kind
awesome.
of touching on the same topic that we are talking about here about never giving up. But he had some advice regarding this. How do you fight that negative feelings when you are down? And how do you harness that fortitude and fighting spirit? And he basically said, when I'm in a lost position, I get very excited because then I get to play stupidly aggressively.
Yes.
So then I don't think about these strategic positional things at all. Then I just go balls out on the enemy king, and I get to just play like a total barbarian.
Yeah,
And
that is fun.
so so that helped me a bit, like just try to turn it around to, okay, I'm lost either way. So let's just have some fun with it and get
Yeah,
the
the
pieces
pressure is
around
kind
the
of
enemy
off
king.
if you're able
Yeah,
to think like that. Yeah.
see if they're able to defend it. And if they're able to defend it, good for them. If not, good for me.
Right. Exactly. I love that. Well, yeah, this is all I have prepared, and I do want to take some time to just chat about our courses and specifically yours because
Yeah.
I've, kind of done my piece here. But I was really interested uh, to chat about like the behind the scenes of
Yeah.
making your course specifically. But first of all, just for my audience, can you just go ahead and tell the people your course is called Breaking 1000, and
Yeah.
what is it about?
It's aimed at the beginner chess player that wants to break that 1000 rating mark. But I have received some reviews where some purchasers also feel it holds value for more intermediate players as well, just because you're going through a lot of basic stuff. But as you said when we started, it has a word count of over 50,000 words, so it is the same length as a short book. And that is because I try to explain every single why around every single thing. Because when I just started out playing chess, I felt like all the course material was aimed at someone who had more knowledge than me. So
Yeah.
I would feel confused often after reading an analysis, and the author just states black is clearly better here, and I was like, why is black better? It's not explained. I don't understand anything. And I would even have questions when I had lessons with my coach and things like that, where my questions were so stupid my coach didn't understand my question, because it can be hard for these title players to really relate to the beginner in a way that is not a child. Because I feel
Yeah.
like it's very different to be a beginner that's a child and a beginner that is a grown up. And let's say, for example, for me, I'm in my 30s. I'm still young, but I don't have an 8-year-old brain. It's just, it doesn't
Yeah.
stick that easy for me. And you also have your full time job. Maybe you don't have the same amount of time on your hands. So yeah, just getting those explanations from someone who recently were at your level
Yeah, which is great
can be
because
helpful.
you specifically only really started playing chess like it's been like 2 years ago now, I believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
2022.
yeah, and you started because you were watching Magnus basically, which is kind of a
Yeah,
different story. You've talked about this on a million podcasts, but it's kind of a different story than like the typical adult who starts around this time of like I watched The Queen's Gambit, which is how I got started. But
yeah.
yeah, I think that's super interesting. And so you also, in addition to being a recent like adult improver or even like a current adult improver who's able to think inside the shoes of somebody who is a beginner, you also have this educational background that I think really helps with your ability to like come up with
Yeah.
things and present it in a good way. So you talked on Ben Johnson's podcast about the best or like how people learn
Yeah,
best,
yeah.
and how did that influence the way that you created the course?
Oh, it did it a lot because I work in education. I have a bunch of teaching experience, and I've also created online courses before, teaching engineering software. And this is teaching adults. And I find I haven't been teaching children, but I have colleagues that have been teaching children, and we have
Mm.
had discussions about this because we like talking about pedagogy. And teaching children and adults is very different. Our brains function differently, and um, definitely the experience of crafting courses for adults and teaching adults, and also getting feedback from them on teaching I've done in the past and courses I've done in the past, I could utilize that to make this course better. And I guess you also had a round with beta testing on your course where you got feedback from the beta testers, and
Yeah,
it's so helpful.
I was gonna say I didn't really hear too much from my beta testers. I think my like I
It
think
was flawless.
well I don't think that's the case. But yeah, I think they just brought me back like a couple of changes, and they just kind of like put it together on Chessable's end and then told me what I needed to
Mm,
change.
mm,
But yeah, I am curious to hear how that helped you, and like also just from the beginning how you like came up with the concepts to include in the course, and like was that entirely
mm.
you? Did you have like help along the way with that? Because I know you had a title player like
Yeah.
quality check your
Uh,
course as well.
I had my first coach, international, blah, I can talk, international master, Petter Haugli. He
Yeah,
helped quality assure the course
that's so cool.
because even though it's a course for breaking 1000, still I think it's a very important job to teach fundamentals. So you should have quality assurance and be sure that you're teaching the correct things. So I was super grateful to get his help. And we also did brainstorming on the topics to include. I came with suggestions, and then he would give me feedback, and he would be like, "No, this is kind of a silly topic. Maybe we could change it to what do you think about this topic?" And we would have a dialogue. So I kind of did the outlining, and he would give feedback. And he made sure that the course involved a lot more stuff about pawns than I initially
Oh, interesting.
intended, because that has been one of the spots where I've been a little bit weaker regarding pawns and pawn structures and weak pawns, creating weak pawns, all of this. So we really did a brush up on this, and I bought some lessons from him on this and had to get my own skill level up to be at a place where I felt comfortable teaching it. And we did some changes. So I independently authored it, but having the feedback from him and the quality assurance, it helped a lot. Did you have anyone help give feedback except the beta testers? Did you have any discussions with the Chessable team, or did you just do everything yourself?
Well, yeah, mine was primarily with the team. We did make a few changes after I
Mm.
submitted the writing portion, especially. There are just some, there's positions that didn't make a lot of sense. So the way my course is structured is there's a rule that I teach you, like for example, like put two pawns in the center, and then there's a
Mm.
puzzle that helps you like practice that rule. That's just a completely different position, and some
Mm.
of the puzzles were not really making the rule as clear as it could have been. So that's sort
Yeah.
of the main place. But yeah, I pulled a lot from um, just things I'd picked up along the way from the people that I play chess with, like in real life, like at my club. Gave some suggestions, and just things that I've like heard talked about. Things that you see that you just pick up by watching a lot of chess content. So watching
Yeah.
strong players talk about their games, and they'll say like, oh, I have my rook's on the seventh. It's a completely winning position, and then you're like, what? Well, what does that even mean? Like, why is that so winning? And you know, So all of that sort of combined into one place, picked up from streams and books and whatnot. So that's kind of where I got the ideas. It's a lot similar to yours. I think our courses really like complement each other, because I think it's a lot of fundamentals, and I think, you could work both of them simultaneously and probably just gain like a whole bunch of knowledge for that beginner intermediate level. So
I think so as well. I think my students would definitely benefit from your course, and I'm excited to go through it myself as well. I feel I plateaued a bit on the 1500 level, but I think partly it's because I'm not playing enough. But I think also what you're touching upon, like raising the floor with these
yeah,
concepts and strategical concepts, I think that is huge. Um,
yeah, exactly.
I recently had a lesson with Nate Solon. I know you have collaborated with him on YouTube as well.
Yeah, he's great.
We talked about outposts, and it's such a fundamental thing. And I even have a chapter on it, and I felt like I kind of had it down, but still, talking to him about it, he made me view them differently. So it's kind of like you can feel like you know something and you have studied something, but there's still deeper layers to unlock, and just hearing it explained in a different way can help you understand something even better.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that way of thinking about it. And I don't know if you experienced this, but like as I was creating the course and like coming up with these examples and having to like explain them and type them out, they say that
Yeah,
teaching something is the best way
yeah,
to learn it better yourself. And I definitely found that. I don't know about you.
yeah, definitely. You have the learning pyramid, and the biggest portion of the learning pyramid is teaching others. So,
Yeah.
and not far beneath that, it's group discussion. But teaching others, it's one of the best things you can do, and yeah, like that's why I think it's important to join some sort of chess community when you're trying to improve, so that you're not isolated. And also, that's why I'm kind of encouraging my students to be active on the course forum, so they can talk to each other about their games and their improvement journey, because it really
Yeah.
helps. Like if someone has a question, uh, let's say you are 1000 rated and you encounter a 400 or 500 that has a question, try to answer it, because when you have to formulate something as an answer and actually type it out like you said, you really need to understand it to be able to explain it. I don't know who said it. I think it was Einstein or something. I'm going to butcher this. I'm no Einstein, but I think he said something along the lines: if you understand something, you will be able to explain it really simply. Like you would
Yeah.
be able to explain it to a 5-year-old
Right. Yeah, I do love
because you have
that.
such a deep understanding.
Yeah, and then you're
But
able
what?
to take the important parts and actually distill it down to
Yeah,
something that a newbie could understand. Yeah, that's absolutely.
yeah.
And I love that aspect of your course. I thought it was really unique because I don't see a lot of authors do this, but just like really encouraging people to build that community in the course forums, and
Yeah.
kind of making it this almost like online mini club where you can solicit advice from others and of course interact with the author. I think that's like a really good thing to do, especially since you're emphasizing community in your course. And I I'm curious too, like what would you say makes your course unique? And we've talked about this a bit, but the reason I'm asking is because as I was looking through the intro peek inside one of the like
Yeah.
videos, you talked about looking at chess as like war strategy and your interest in
Yeah.
just war strategy games. I'm really curious to hear how that plays
Yeah.
out in your course and anything else that you think makes it unique.
I'm very into war strategy games and also history. And so
That's
I've
so
been playing
cool.
Age of Empires and Civilization. And chess is kind of one of the oldest strategy games, and it is a game for kings and generals, and it has a lot of similarities with actual war strategy. So I kind of wanted to implement that in the aggressive checkmates chapter. And I found myself getting completely lost in a digression where I sat down reading about strategy concepts in real war, like in some army U.S. Army manual. I went on this whole digression. So, but you have principles of course, you need to have the objective. You need to be clear what is the objective of the game, and that is, of course, to checkmate the opponent. And it's just important to be. It sounds very self-explanatory, but you need to be actually aware of it, and then you can use principles to make that happen. Like you should be on the offensive. You should fight for the initiative. We go through the element of surprise. We go through luck, how you can create your own luck in chess, how to get your army to cooperate, how you should use threats. All of these are principles that are used in actual war strategy. And I also refer to the pieces as officers. That is a very Norwegian thing because we call them
sure.
officers in Norway. We have like the heavy officers, which is the queen and the rooks, and then you have the light officers that are the knights and the bishops. And I think one of the hardest things for me when I was a complete beginner was to actually view the pieces as an army that needed to collaborate with each other. How do my pieces cooperate? How do I get to not only use one piece individually, but get them to work together to create threats and point at weaknesses and get this synergy between the pieces? And yeah, it's very interesting. I could probably talk about this for hours, but
that is so cool. It's so interesting too. Like the way that pieces are named in different languages. I feel like it's very similar to a study that I've heard about where, or maybe it's not a study, but just like a report on how there are languages where there's not like a name for the color, like blue, for example. And so they see blue as just like a shade of green, or there's something like that. I can't remember the specifics. And I feel like it's very
that's so
similar
interesting.
to the way that, if you learn about playing chess and you think of them as officers versus, learning chess in English and they're called pawns, and the way that we, say, oh, he's, just a pawn in her little game or something like that. It's like, it's a very different way of thinking about it. The pawns feel a lot more like you can just throw them away, like they're not really useful. But yeah,
so for us, the pawns in Norwegian, they are called bonde, and that means farmer.
oh,
So
interesting. Oh, that's so
so
cool.
the major pieces, they are officers, and then the
Oh, I
pawns, they
see.
are farmers.
So
So, and I think,
officer
and
rather
that
than
is
piece.
also interesting because it makes you think like when the pawns, okay, individually a pawn is 1 point, but together all of them, they have the same value as a queen. And
Yeah,
then you can
exactly.
start to draw parallels to the revolutions, the French Revolution. Like when all the pawns work together, they're actually a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
so
my
they can
goodness.
be used for attacking as well. So, but I love making these parallels.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Oh my goodness. I'm definitely gonna have to check out that chapter because it sounds right up my alley. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very. I don't like using this word, but it it's kind of nerdy. But all chess players are just huge nerds, I feel like. So,
oh yeah.
but
It's definitely not a
yeah, the
negative
great,
term for chess players.
like King said, the great pawn revolution. But um, yeah, and especially touching about this thing with surprise and luck, I thought was super interesting because I often hear like, oh, my opponent just got lucky. But in many instances, you can create your own luck, like you have done in many of these puzzles when you were down material. You are creating your own luck by placing your officers in near a proximity of the enemy king, and then you are creating chances. Like there's how do you say, it's a bigger chance that you are going to get lucky because you
Yeah.
are trying to create your own luck in a way. So
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a great way to think about it.
mm.
Um, I'm just checking my notes because I made notes on what I all want to ask you, which I sent to you with my horrible handwriting. Um,
You don't have a horrible handwriting, by the way, and I think it's so romantic in a way that you write out your notes by hand. I think you're the only person I know about who does this.
Well, I normally wouldn't do this, but I didn't know if I would have room to like pull it up on my screen if I put it like in a Word document or something. So I was like, you know what? I'd rather just have them physical so I don't have to be like tabbing back and forth. But it was
I
anyway.
I tried to start journaling,
Oh, how's that
and
going? I've heard that's really
I
nice for
well
people.
well I I'm embarrassed to say this, but I actually my hand started hurting really bad
Oh
because
no.
I haven't written in many years. I only write on the computer, so I actually got stiff in my hand like the day after.
Oh my
I could really
goodness.
feel it, like I've been working out. It was insane.
That's so
And it's
funny.
so embarrassing. So
Oh man. Yeah, out of
I
practice from like school exams. Oh, that's hilarious.
yeah. So I haven't been. I didn't continue in that endeavor, and for some reason I get embarrassed when I journal. Like it's just something about seeing my feelings and thoughts on paper. It just made me embarrassed. So I just figured out it wasn't for me. But I like write other things, but maybe not journaling.
Yeah, I occasionally try to get back into journaling and even just doing the like, one sentence a day or something like that, and it always kind of
Yeah.
falls off. But I know it helps a lot of people to like, process their emotions and everything. But anyway, that's besides
Yeah,
the point.
that's the difference. I wanted to say though that I really benefited from the YouTube video that you made about I think it was "This Secret Document Changed My Chess."
Oh
I think that
yeah.
was the title, and I have shared it on the course forum because students have asked for in regards to rating fluctuations, analysis, things like that. And this document that you're talking about in the YouTube video, it's so helpful, and it's helped me not getting upset when I lose because I'm a psychopath. So I love spreadsheets like every psychopath does, and I just get happy when I lose now because I can put it into the spreadsheet.
If that helps, you not be more so upset about losing, I think that is like exactly what it is intended to do. And it helps me a lot too because it's like, oh, I get to like aggregate all this data and see like, look at it more
Yeah.
objectively. I think that helps a lot.
And I get to plot in the colors. Did I play with black or white? What was the opening? Like I fully copied your whole document, and it's awesome. And I actually talked to Nate about this as well, and he said it's genius because everyone is told you need to analyze games, but we do it one by one, and that is important too. But you really lose out on that. How do you say? Not holistic, but maybe holistic perspective of the data, so you can
Yeah,
see the patterns and commonalities. You lose
right.
out on that if you only do it one by one.
Yeah, I think that whole idea of like the you know putting all your data in a list and then just like looking at it, it sounds so simple, but it's definitely helped me figure out like weaknesses in my games and then helped me to like fix my study routine from there. So like that's how I figured
Mm.
out that I was really weak in calculation and that I needed to work more on calculation because I was making like these just horrible calculation errors in my games. And recently it's been king safety, which is really bad because if you lose your king, you're gonna lose the game. So I'm going on these crazy attacks because I'm trying to be more aggressive, but then my king gets kind of tossed to the wayside. So I know that's something I need to work on in my games. And yeah,
Then
I'm hoping that helps
I
for
have
other
a
people.
question for you.
Sure.
What's like the difference between visualization and calculation? Is calculation like visualization, but you have the evaluation in mind as well, or what is the difference between
um, I feel like I'm not going to give a very good answer to this.
that? But is it the same thing?
I think visualization is it's like a piece of calculation in my head.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think so
and
as well. I think visualization is like the act of being able to play the movie, so to speak. But calculation is also taking the eval into account correctly of
yeah,
something.
so yeah, I guess the idea of like being able to see in your head like the final position that you want and then
Yeah,
I don't know, calculating like whether that is a good thing. I guess that's more evaluation. I don't really know how to
yeah.
the best way to explain it. I guess I kind of use them interchangeably, but I'm sure there's I'm sure
Yeah.
somebody out there has explained it in a better way than I can.
I'm googling the definition here, and the definition is the aspect of analysis that deals with forcing sequences. So I guess it's just calculating, like visualizing tactics, maybe.
Yeah, I suppose.
I got a message in the chat. Visualization is the ability to understand the general ideas of what candidate moves you have and what lines and pawn structures you will end up in, whereas calculation goes into more obscure lines, considering which moves are distinguished with others and why they don't work. I think we landed on something. Sorry for that digression. I fail to let things go sometimes.
No, that's definitely like I've struggled with this question myself, and I don't think I've come up with a good way to like answer it. Like we were saying, like explain it to a a 5-year-old or something.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I kind of maybe get it in my head, but I don't really know how to explain it. But anyway, just to kind of finish up this chat on our courses.
Yeah.
Also, just to my chat, I think what we'll do is once we hang up with Solveig, I think I will stay on a little bit longer and just answer some chat questions because this is the first time I'm streaming since dropping the course. So we'll just do a little chat after that. So definitely keep typing them in chat, but we'll maybe save them for a little bit when we finish up with our guest here, okay? And just for you, Solveig, like just talking post-release, you're 2 months out.
Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but how's it going? Like how do you feel
it's going really well. I'm
great.
very surprised. It's like I was very delusional about this because pre-launch I just thought, okay, if there's one person who buys my course and I'm going to be super happy. But it's like been a really good reception, and I feel like the Chessable community is very supportive.
I would agree.
Warm. And we've gotten a lot of good reviews, and people seem very happy, and that makes me very happy because I don't want to create something just to create something. I want to create something that actually holds some value for the person who buys it, so that they get value for their money, and it's not funny just to create. You need to kind of be proud of what you have produced, I feel like.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess you feel like that as well.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Like even just a day out, like and just seeing, I was stalking your course forums as well, and like everybody is just so positive over there on Chessable.
Yeah.
And I think it's this like very niche improver, like generally adult improver community that is just very eager to get better at chess and to help other people do that and learn from other people. And I think that just creates a really positive environment and community, like you said. And so yeah, I likewise have been just very thrilled with the way it's gone, even in just a day, and looking forward to, down the line as well.
Yeah, and I think adult chess improvers were just very addicted to learning and constantly learning new things. And I think that's why a lot of us get stuck with chess. Like for me, I've had many hobbies and things that I've been engaged in, but I get to a certain level where I feel like I have extracted most of the learning from it, and then I kind of lose interest. But with chess, it just continues. Like when I slay one head, a new head sprouts in its place, and it's just constant things to learn, and deeper layers of the things that you have already learned that you need to unravel. So I just love that learning process. I love it more than competing, but I guess you love to compete.
I do.
You are competing a lot.
Yeah, I've been my goal this year is to improve my over the board performance. Not even necessarily my rating, but just like how I'm able to, play games over the board because I've been very inconsistent. And I do just I don't know, there's just something about that aspect of competing that I just gravitate towards. I think I always have. And the losing is horrible. It feels terrible, but when you get a win, it's like it's all worth it. So
Oh yeah, you feel like Superman.
exactly.
I have a question for you, by the way.
Sure.
Because I know you play London and French, and you've done this your whole career, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever get tired of it? Do you ever feel like, oh, I'm sick and tired of playing these positions? I want to play something new.
Yes, I do. And
You do?
I've been trying to switch my black opening specifically for a while. I've tried I've just experimented around with a few different things because I think the French especially is just like probably the most boring thing to play. Like at least with London positions, you can get some like you're playing with white, so you get a little bit more space and it's slightly more exciting. I haven't gotten as sick of that one because I've just learned a lot of the theory and I like
Mm.
finding the traps. But I've tried like the Scandinavian with black. I've tried the Sicilian with black. That's what I'm currently trying to implement now. I've
Yeah, me too.
yeah, try like the King's Indian and just like all these things. But
Mm, mm.
I think there's like I had this idea with talking about the Sicilian. I had this idea when I was like, I don't know, 15, 1600 online that okay, I'll learn the Sicilian when I'm advanced enough to like actually be able to understand it.
Oh,
And that time has just never come. So at this
no.
point I'm just kind of I know on Twitter you said something about like just play the first move and just kind of see what happens, like, not really
Yeah,
knowing any of the
I
theory.
played I played a C5 and hope for the best Sicilian.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that and I was like, "You know what? That is a good thing to do." And so I've been trying to do the same thing, especially in my blitz games, over the board. So
Yeah, and also Nate Solon actually has a really good YouTube video on the best Sicilian for beginners, the 4 Knight Sicilian.
oh,
And
interesting, yeah.
so you should definitely check that out if you I've been meaning to do it myself because it should be very easy to learn because it's so much theory in the Sicilian. But I feel like at my level, 1500, like people don't know. Like they screw up on move 5 either way.
Yeah.
So
And I have
I
a tendency to turn every opening I play into a system opening, and that doesn't really work with the Sicilian because you you really have to like respond to your opponent's moves and like actually
yeah.
learn the theory, especially when you're trying to play it at the 2000 online level because people actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, and I
But
think like getting exposure to different pawn structures. But I must say, I have no idea how you get bored in the French because I tried the French and I just got murdered every single time. So it was not boring; it was just depressive. Like
yeah.
I got murdered on the king side every single game. Like I got checkmated. I think
Oh.
90% of my French games, and I just thought I'm miserable in the structures because white gets so much space on the king side, and
Yup.
I don't understand how to play it at all.
Yeah, it is difficult. You really have to get out of the minds like you just have to be resigned to the fact that your light scored bishop is going to be horrible for most of the game and you have to like make a point to break the pawn structure open and things. But what really like if the exchange French didn't exist, I would be just I would play the French forever. But when I play like 20 blitz games in a row or like bullet games in a row and I face the exchange French every single time and it just we end up trading down the e-file and it's just like the most boring game of all time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I never want to play the French again. But that's why I get bored with it.
Yeah, I feel like I should try to find some openings and stick with them and be consistent to see those rating games. But I get so bored. I just feel like, oh, I want to try something else now. So it's just like
Yeah.
I think I've played most openings now. And
Well, and my thought is like I whatever interests you is like what you should be studying at least up to a certain point. And so if you like love learning different openings and just like playing around with them, like that's going to help you in some way improve your chess. So like why not?
yeah, I think next now for now I'm playing the same with white for a long time, played e4 for a long time. I think it would be fun to try d4. And I've been very curious about the Yobava London actually.
Oh
And
yeah, that's definitely getting some a lot of people are playing that now. It's there's some fun positions that you can get out of it.
yeah, so I'm curious about that, but I'm also kind of curious about the Catalan. But
Mhm.
also I feel like maybe I should just learn to play d4, d5 with both
Yeah.
sides because I've been kind of avoiding these strategic positions. But
Yeah.
I
It
need to,
it
yeah.
there is this tendency to think they're more strategic and in some ways they definitely are. Like, you'll generally get a fairly equal position out of the game, but there are definitely some lines you will learn that even like I said, at my level, not that I'm like some insanely high player, but like 2000, 2100 rapid online, I still get these crazy traps in the Jobava London or the regular London like all the time. So there's definitely still some fun things to get out of it, but
Yeah, and Andras also, I shouldn't say more strategic positions because Andras, Andras, he has showed me enough of his D4 games to make me understand that there's some crazy tactics that can arise from those as well. But yeah,
yeah.
I'm a blabbermouth. I'm sorry. You've been trying to leave now for I think half an hour, but I'm just so excited to be able to talk about chess with someone.
No, I definitely haven't. I have nowhere to be, so I'm equally as excited to talk about chess. So yeah, thank you so much, Sylvie, for hopping on and doing this. I really appreciate the chance to collab again and to see you or talk to you for the first time in like a year. This has been really nice.
Yeah, I know. And I'm very proud of you for launching your first Chessable course. It looks
Thank you.
amazing. I'm looking forward to go through it. And maybe you could help me get a nudge over that 1500 plateau. I'm hoping that.
I hope
And
so.
I would recommend my viewers to check out Kamryn's Chessable course. It's I was trying to write Kamryn, but I wrote Camrys. Sorry, Kamryn. I posted a link in the chat. Check out her Chessable course. It's currently on sale. And also I've linked her YouTube channel. You recently got to 25,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
She
you.
posts
Yeah.
uh, she posts a lot of free educational material as well. So definitely check that out. And thank you so much for joining today, Kamryn, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And obviously, congrats on your course as well. I know it's been out a little bit longer, so the newness is kind of worn off. But guys, if you type exclam guest in the chat, you can check out Solvay's course Breaking 1000 on Chessable. I think they really will complement each other for a vast majority of players who are trying to improve. So yeah, again, thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for
Thank
the
you,
shout out.
Kamryn.
And yeah,
Have fun with your viewers.
yeah,
I'm gonna
thank you.
say bye to you now, but I will see you on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, guys. I'm not going to be live too much longer, but because the course just came out yesterday, I wanted to take some time to just chat about it a little bit because it's been almost a year in the making. If you have, you know, if you've noticed that I've been very busy these last couple of months, this is a huge reason why. The course is out now. Oh, you know what? I could probably just show you the whatever it's called. Hold on a second. Let me go full cam. Oh my gosh, was I just this short the entire time? I know I fixed my chair like halfway through, but oh, and I still have the Chessable logo. That's fine. That makes sense somehow. But I saw some people in chat asking like who my course specifically is for, and I actually think it's a similar audience to the like under 1000 level, but as you get further into the concepts get a lot more advanced, and I think it scales maybe at a level that um it's not for a total complete noob at the game. It definitely will help if you are more at that intermediate level, but you feel like you might be missing some of the basics because, you know, I was in a similar position uh where I was, 13, 14, 1500 on chess.com, and I felt like my skill floor was extremely low and my ceiling was suffering because of that. So there were positions where I could find these like brilliant moves, but at the same time, I was missing some very basic tactics or basic ideas that would have won me the game a lot sooner. Thank you so much, RookieRedhead, for the raid. Oh, I super appreciate it. Now Rookie's a raider. Uh, yeah, thank you so much. This was really fun. I super appreciate us being able to collab. For those of you who don't know me, well, where have you been the last hour? Just kidding. I'm Kamryn. Nice to meet you. uh, you can check out my course with this command. Okay, there it is. What would you consider, or wait, I just lost that message. Where is it? Boom, boom, boom. What do you consider the intermediate level? It kind of varies. I would say like intermediate, in my opinion, up until like 1800 online, but I don't think I would consider this course more for the early intermediate level, which is maybe like 12 to 1500 at the most that would benefit from this. I mean, I think everybody could benefit from reviewing the rules, but I think you will get the most out of this course if you are like a beginner, say under 1,000, up until maybe reviewing the basics as a more intermediate player. Okay, all of these things are happening. Thank you so much, DBL Click, for the bits and the sub. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. 8 months. Nice to see you, DBL Click. You got a cooldown warning for what? And then I saw J Mastermind. If you consider taking this silly more seriously, don't play the 4 nights. Oh, interesting. Yeah, what I've been studying is the Taimanov Sicilian. And I think I did a whole like mini chessable, what's it called? The like quick start or whatever they're called. Chessable courses on it a while back, and then I just like forgot everything. So I just need to review it. But at this point I'm just kind of playing the little things I remember and falling into traps all the time, and it's all fine. But yeah. Oh, I was gonna share my screen. I'm just like talking to myself. This is just a just chatting stream. Where is my course? Hold up. Let me find it. Oh, there's also a summer sale. Is mine on the summer sale? Surely not. Surely it just has the new sale. Okay, here it is. Oh, how did that work just perfectly the first time? Insane. I'm just a layout master. So yeah, this is the course. I love the art on it because it's a book, and I love books. I'm a writer, and so this just seemed like so perfect. But it's called 50. Oh my goodness, 50 Essential Chess Concepts: An Improver's Blueprint. And I really like that they included the word improver. They came up with this title, by the way, not me. But the improver, I think, really speaks to like who this course is aimed at. And just to give you a little bit behind the scenes, like Chessable was telling me that they have had in the last like year or so this influx of beginner players who are more of the like adult improver variety. So they're like they've gotten into chess in the last year or two, and they're trying to bring their game to the next level, and that is why they're asking a lot of us untitled players to create courses like this, because you don't necessarily need to learn from a grandmaster just to get the basics down. And because I was a beginner player not that long ago, I remember what it was like to think that way. I was in your shoes. And yeah. Can you shift your stream schedule to this time only? It's probably not going to happen. But I wouldn't be opposed to streaming more in the morning. I know it is a lot more helpful for my European viewers, but for me it is 11:33 right now. And so when we started, it was 10. And I have done streams at 6 a.m. And in my opinion, the later the better. But I know when I stream at like 6 p.m. my time, it's like 3 a.m. over in some countries where you guys are watching from. So yeah, I get it. I'll try and mix up the schedule sometime. But yeah, if you have any more questions, I think I kind of generally, we talked about everything I saw in the chat. Oh, somebody asked if it's suited for 1700 rapid players as well, Jordy. I would say it's a little bit. I think if you're 1700, you're probably a bit too advanced for this course, I would say. So it's not for everybody, but these courses need to be like aimed at the people that they are supposed to be for. Okay, it says it's for novice, which is less than 400, or beginner, which is 400 to 1200. Yeah, so that's basically what I was saying. It's 15,000 words, which is like a novella. I did not realize I wrote 15,000 words. Almost 4 hours of video. It felt like longer when I was recording the videos, not gonna lie, but that's just because I'm really bad at recording in one take. But we got it done, so it happened. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, It's 4 a.m. when I stream at 6. Oh, yeah, that is unfortunate. I know, the time zones are just, like, so annoying to match up. You know, you could see the elos when hovering over it. I know, I just learned that, like, yesterday. 400 to 1200, basically. So, yeah, I think you will, just to give a little bit of an overview if you missed the beginning, there's 50 concepts. I call them rules in the course. And they are split into 5 different chapters, which kind of gives you a well-rounded view of it, which is rules for developing, rules for active pieces, rules for trading pieces, rules for attacking, and rules for the end game. So again, just all the parts of a chess game combined into one, not just attacking, not just looking for ways to like sacrifice your rook and everything. Really trying to give you the foundation that you need to, like, chess really builds on itself. Kind of like they tell you that math does when you're in school. Like, you have to learn how to do algebra before you can learn how to do calculus. Like, this is probably altogether things that will help you to build as you continue going forward. And if you don't understand some of these things, it will be really difficult when you're learning things in the future to quickly grasp why those more advanced concepts are important if you don't understand, for example, like, you know, rooks on the 7th. That's the one I keep coming back to. You will understand like more complex. You will not understand more complex maneuvers that allow you to get your rooks on the 7th, and then, you know, etc., etc. Anything else? Yeah, 1,600 words is a lot of writing. It's just to compare them, though. RookieRedhead's course has like 56,000 words, so she basically wrote like a book. Like, I wrote, like, you know, a little short story. Which, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna leak that yet. But anyway, yeah, check out the course. I'm super excited about it. I was shocked when I woke up yesterday, first of all, to an email that said, your course has been published. I knew it was being published, but you know, it's like, here's to check out like how many people have gotten the course. And I looked and there were already so many, and I hadn't even posted anything about it on my social media. Like, I can't believe the community that Chessable has that's willing to just, you know, go through their homepage and see that, oh, there's this new course and check it out, and they might not even know me. And yeah, it's been overwhelming so far. I really just cannot believe it. But again, if you have questions on the course, you can feel free to come into the forums, which I definitely know where that is. Where is that? Oh, here, discussions. You can also review it. That would be nice. But you can go into the discussion page and, you know, just talk to me. I will do my best. Like, this is a place I don't respond to a lot of messages. Like, I don't respond to a lot of private messages if you send them because I just do not have the time. But this is a place I'm going to like make an active effort to be responsive, like within a day or two. For the most part, I'll probably try and sit down like once a day and try and get through all the comments that people have posted. So if you want to get a hold of me, as far as like giving feedback or asking specific questions about the course, this is a good place to do it. But with that, we're gonna have to find somebody else to raid. Let's see who's all alive. Who is texting me? Okay, don't get distracted, Kamryn. Let's go. Wait, DBL Click, you subscribe for 12 months? Wait, is that 12 months in advance? That's crazy. Thank you so much, DBL Click. I really appreciate it. I did not read that correctly before. Okay, I'm trying to get back to Twitch. All right, what do you guys want to watch? Let's raid, oh my gosh, everybody's live. This is insane. Will next week's stream be back to Thursdays or on Saturday again? I'm not sure what my schedule is going to look like for next week, so more likely on a Thursday, but I'm not 100% yet. But I am trying my best to go back to one stream a week, so we will get it done. Let's raid. Wait, who is this with? We'll raid Anamaya. Did I spell it right? Okay. Okay. I know this has been okay, it's been almost 2 hours. Okay, it's been like an hour and a half. It's been a relatively short stream. But of course, as always, I appreciate you guys. Okay, sorry, I have to do it one more time in the chat just so you guys can see it. I implore you to check out the course. Again, if you're still on the fence, I would recommend checking out the peek inside. It gives a little bit more in depth as to like what's actually in the course, and I explain things a little bit better than I can in a live environment. And yeah, go ahead and check it out. And I appreciate it if you do. Thanks so much, guys. I will see you next time. Goodbye for now.